Good everyone, Today's video, and today we have a review on the G8N1 Renzan, meaning mountain range in Japanese. So, those of you greybeards of War Thunder, do you remember the nickname of this aircraft? Because I certainly do. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Did you answer Death Star? Well, yes. So, the Death Star, aka the G8N1, is a very old plane, and this aircraft used to sit at 6.3 accordingly. Obviously, back in the day, this thing used to get backed up by R2-Y2s, and anything that would be a threat to the Renzan would have either been dealt with by its 20 mils or alternatively killed by the R2-Y2s. And that meant the G8N1s could mostly bomb freely, and well, that's really what was good about the aircraft back in those days, even at 6.3. Sadly, the R2-Y2 has had its air spawn removed because, well, far too many people whined on the forums, and the G8N1 Renzan has been given a kick in the balls because, well, damage model and everything when it comes to cannons hitting the aircraft is significantly worse than what it used to be. Even machine gun fire can generally bring down this aircraft if enough is thrown at it. So let's go over the aircraft and let's discuss what we need to say about the aircraft, because there's a lot to say, but at the same time, there's not much to say because, well, it's a good bird. I prefer this thing over the Shinzan. Let's just say that. But there's still some stuff to say, and well, there's a couple of things I need to make aware of this aircraft. So let's go over the armament. So in the nose, you have two 30mm Type 2 machine guns. Now, for those of you that think, oh, are these the A7M2s 13s? Sadly not. That would be amazing. They are the MG131 copies. So if you're familiar with MG131 on German aircraft, you are familiar with them here. They appear to be the exact same, as far as I can tell. I think they are a licensed produced machine gun. At least that's what I seem to see. And the Death Star used to get its nickname because of the sheer amount of 20 mils on it. You get two 20 mils in the back, two 20 mils on the top, and two 20 mils on the bottom. You also get two 13.2s, one on each side, pointing out the side of the aircraft. They don't really tend to get used, but they're there, so you can't really complain about blisters or getting shot on the side, can you? So the Death Star used to get its nickname because it used to shrug off practically anything that threw at it, unless it was a bit of cannon fire. But to be fair, even back in the day, this thing could shrug off cannon fire quite well, and it could take incredible amounts of damage. It could dish out incredible amounts of damage. And whilst its bomb load is lacking, it was an incredible aircraft at the time. However, all good things must come to an end, as the old saying goes, and the Renzan, unfortunately, has been kicked in the balls. Still being at 5.7, it fights a lot of aircraft that are going to give it a hard time, and obviously with the cannon buffs and everything, bombers are generally a lot weaker nowadays, so just bear that in mind. And when it comes to this aircraft, it is quite weak to most gunfire. I mean, the most amount of time I died was generally the tail falling off. So yeah. But does that mean this thing is bad? No. I relatively enjoyed this aircraft. It climbs really well for a 4-engine bomber. It dives really well for a 4-engine bomber. And as long as you keep the airspeed below about 250 miles an hour, it actually turns alright for a 4-engine heavy bomber. So let's go over armor, and as you can tell, there's no bulletproof glass. Yeah, this thing suffers its gunners getting taken out by 50 cal quite a bit. The tail gunner specifically, he has a 13mm plate there, which is going to do absolutely nothing. The side blisters have a bit of armor, the pilot's area has a bit of armor, but generally this is not going to stop really anything. In terms of engines, you are powered by pretty much the same engines on the Shining Kai. They are good engines, there's four of them, and well, the aircraft can fly functionally well on just two engines. So you should be okay if you can at least get, well, if you lose 2 engines. At least I find that anyway. But to be fair, if you're losing 2 engines, you're probably either in a bad spot or another aircraft is going to come finish you off. So the 2-engine flight of this aircraft, whilst it is doable, don't expect to survive long. And that's the sad thing, because this aircraft used to have such a good reputation for just shrugging up rounds and just shrugging down enemy fighters like they were nothing. This thing could even pop jets and not give a shit. But it can do that still, but it's nowhere near as good at it, because the durability and everything. So obviously, for the turrets, you want to use armored on the 20 mils, and you want to use armored on the 13s. The 13s are mostly tracer, and well, people tend to shit themselves when they see more Darker flying at them and more tracer, so that tends to be the best thing to do. Now, if you stock bomb load, you do get 18 60 kilogram bombs. Don't use these. Use the 250s. These come stock, and it takes 7 of them to kill a base, which means you'll have 1 left. So yeah. But on Calkin Gold, these are perfect for carpet bombing. And, well, yeah, they're really good bombs. I mean, they're naval bombs and everything, but they seem to work pretty well regardless. Then we move into the big one, the 3 800 kilogram bombs. There's only one issue. Inside of the bomb bay, there is enough room for 4. And looking at the aircraft's history, this thing was built to carry 4 800 kilogram bombs. So yeah, you're missing out on about another base kill, roughly. It takes 2 800s to kill a base, and obviously with there only being 3, you can't kill 2 bases, unfortunately. Japan doesn't really get that good of a bomber. They tend to mostly focus on range, which is historically accurate. But otherwise, I had relatively good fun spading this thing. It was nice to fly. Obviously, I flew out with Bertie, Fly, Harry, and obviously Shadow and everything. And they helped out a lot spading this aircraft. And obviously, with me having a couple of days premium, I'm getting through the shit boxes and everything. So in terms of statistics, 57% win rate, 8 deaths, 11 air kills, 161 ground kills, 8 naval targets, well, most of which were landing craft. In terms of bases, I think I only popped about 2 or 3 bases because I didn't really focus on that. And one of the deaths was a wing rip. You've got to watch the wing rip on this aircraft. It only pulls 3 Gs before snapping its own wing off. One other point of note, this aircraft does actually have quite the good bit of camouflages. It has this nice dark green, which I must admit, that really suits the aircraft. You then have this weird ass camouflage, the red orange, which reminds me of the J6K. And then you have this one, the yellow orange US Air Force camouflage, and this thing really does look nice. I've got to give it that. But as you can tell, they take quite a while to get, and if you're not focusing on base bombing, it's going to take even longer. But hey, I'm sure it's worth the grind, because, well, these paint jobs are really nice. But I prefer the standard silver until then, that's for definite. So let's get into the battle and let's have a look at the G8N1, or as I nicknamed it, the 4-engine CAS plane. Now I know what you're thinking, why the fuck would Joe use this thing in a CAS role? Let's be realistic here, guys. I've used a lot of things in CAS. I've used a Hudson in CAS. I've used a pea shooter in CAS. And I've even gone and done a 3-kill game in a Lancaster. So yeah, and by the way, there is a review coming on a Lancaster at some point. Because, well, I kind of need to get them done, and they're real kick in the balls is all I'll say. So yeah, you're going to discover why I nicknamed this thing the 4-engine CAS plane. So on this map, normally what I would have done is gone to bomb the bases. Because obviously, as you notice, it had a ×2 multiplier, so it'll take a little less time in RB. And in Sim, it's even quicker. But I would normally do that, but obviously I don't think I had 800s at the time, so I thought, oh well. In fact, no, I did, but I just didn't put them on because I wanted to bomb some pillboxes, which on this map is not a good idea at high altitude, so I'll say. So obviously, the G8N1, it does climb pretty well for what it is. For a 4-engine bomber, it's actually quite good at climbing. So I'm not really climbing here, but even at like 1 or 2 degrees, it does climb relatively well for what the size of this aircraft. You've got to remember, it's pushing 2,000 horsepower almost in each engine. It's got quite good horsepower output. But the inside of the aircraft's very nice. The aircraft is very easy to fly. And like I say, you've just got to watch the lockup. The lockup is quite severe, and the dive speed of this aircraft is not to be overestimated. And that's putting that lightly. So I'm just dropping out a couple of bombs here. There's nothing really to say. I'm just going in, dropping bombs. This is what I tend to do on this map. If I was in Kalkin Gol, I'd have been dive bombing. Yes, you can dive bomb this aircraft. It actually dives up to around 400 miles an hour. Quite well. You've just got to watch the wings, as I said. Do not pull sharp maneuvers. You will snap your wings like a twig. And, well, yeah, it's not exactly beneficial when your wing comes off and you see the repair cost of this aircraft. Because the repair cost is quite steep. It's about 28 to 30k spaded, if I remember rightly, and it's quite bad. It's not the worst. I've spaded that as a high repair cost looking at U-177 and also 264 before it got its repair cost decreased. But you understand my point. So let's jump us ahead, because well, I've killed a couple of things. I've got one pillbox for my bombing run. And you can see what I mean. 390 miles an hour, it dives really well. But obviously, I've got to take the turns carefully, because well, snapping the wings off is not exactly advised. It can actually fly with half its wing on, which I discovered on a map where I accidentally snapped my wing off. And I was able to actually nurse the aircraft to a landing spot, and I paid, well, the repair cost was about 8k. I didn't pay full repair because I managed to land the aircraft safely. So there you can see Bert, he's being chased by a Yak 3, and I told him, just dive, he'll rip his wings off. Sure enough, he did. Yaks are very easy to rip the wings off, but surprisingly that guy's going to keep on flying. He's going to become a zombie Yak, and well, we've been noticing a lot of zombie planes recently. Zombie planes are a pain in the bum, let's just say that politely. So at this point I'm saying to Bert, look, there's a Chinese Ki-84 over there, he's going to get dealt with, but I've got an AL-10 on my ass. But if there's one thing this aircraft is actually not bad at, it's actually top-end speed. As you can see, the aircraft's speed is actually not that bad for a 4-engine heavy bomber. And as you can tell, I'm actually outrunning that IL-10. Not by a lot, but I'm outrunning him. And I was laughing at this point to Birdie, and obviously Birdie's on his way to J5N1. He actually quite likes that aircraft. Hairy Feet didn't until he got the bells. He made us all laugh, and well, Hairy Feet was using the typical, you know, like when you do a raspberry, like like that. He was describing it to describe the guns when they did absolutely nothing, and he got nearly shredded by a Gauntlet of Stalin. And I will say this: I've been noticing a lot more aggressive Gauntlet of Stalin pilots lately. They are very aggressive, and they are terrifying to say the least. But as you can tell, this thing is on the deck, we're ground pounding away, and well, this thing is, again, it's the 4-engine CAS plane. This thing really does do its job as a CAS aircraft. And I know it seems dumb on paper to do this sort of thing, but who gives a shit? If you're gonna have fun spading a bomber, you gotta do it Joe's sort of way. And this is my sort of way of spade a bomber. I mean, I'd even do this in the Gauntlet of Stalin. But the 20 mils actually have quite good coverage, so you can actually afford to do this sort of thing, and you can actually afford to... Like, you can actually afford to do this, because the 20 mils have 400 rounds each. In fact, no, they have 200 rounds total, sorry. And the 13mm machine guns are actually pretty effective at taking out vehicles as well, as you can tell. Obviously, the 20 mils will come around, but they're still firing and everything. But the aircraft's capability is actually quite good for a 400 medium. Well, I'd say medium. It would be considered by most nations to be a medium bomber, because obviously the payload and everything. But in practical sense, it is a heavy bomber. It's the size of one at least. But at this point, I'm just going around pounding. I'm not doing much. But unfortunately, Birdie Bert is going to learn the hard way that you do not bother a Gauntlet of Stalin. And there he goes. He just got obliterated by the Gauntlet of Stalin. And unfortunately, this B6, aka the Gauntlet of Stalin, is quite aggressive. He's an aggressive kind of B6 pilot, and I don't want to go near it. That's to say the least. I do not want to go near it. Like I say, I'm back to ground pounding. I don't care at this point. I mean, if he's gonna come for me, I'm at least gonna put up a fight. A Death Star against a Gauntlet of Stalin. It could be a good fight. I've never had one because, well, an Su-6 ruined that party in the last time I tried that. But all I will say is, you want to get an experienced gunnery crew and all that on this aircraft. You want to get some experienced gunners on board. And well, Ziela's going to hate this one because that LA-7's coming for me, and he's going to regret his decision. So obviously, I'm turning the aircraft at this point, and let's just say that could have been worse. Obviously, he did do some good damage. He took out the nose gunner, but the mistake the LA-7 pilot makes is approaching the Death Star from the rear. As you're about to discover, you don't do that to a Death Star. However, I don't think this aircraft deserves the name it had. That's for definite. And well, he learned the hard way to not piss off what this aircraft is. I don't think this aircraft deserves the nickname Death Star anymore. That's for definite. It's way beyond its prime. But what do I think it should be named? Well, 400 gas plane, because well, look at what I'm doing. This thing's got good guns for it. It's got good teams to back it up, for the most part. And yeah, you can afford to do this. So I'm calling it a 400 gas plane. I'm not calling it a Death Star. It used to be named the Death Star back when I first started, and when I first saw one of these in my Mustang, I shit myself because I didn't know what to do. I'd always heard about its reputation, and I did not go near it. But obviously back in those days, bomber damage models were not so fucked. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I think that's pretty much showcasing what you can do in this thing. So like I say, do I think this aircraft is worth your time? I think it is. You've just got to watch the wing grip speed, and you've got to watch the repair, as I'll quickly show you whilst I'm continuing on and everything. It's got great capability, this aircraft, but you've got to take into account its weaknesses and the fact that it is not as powerful as it used to be. I mean, look at that, 26, nearly 27k to repair this thing. You have to be careful. This aircraft is not as powerful as it used to be. So just take that into account, and I think you'll have a good time in this aircraft. And for those of you heavy bomber pilots, you might just enjoy it. Oh, not the fucking Lancaster. But anyway, I'll let you guys off, and I'll see you all on the next one.